No sweat. No sweat. All right. You live right now, right? Okay. All right, Shalom Israel, Yahweh Shemel Shabrak Thumb, Yahweh Shemal, Thumb by Shemel Shah. I am priest and officer 1,000 Yadai, holding it down till priest and captain of 13,000. Shapar Napash gets here. Now, this is the Feast of Purim. First of all, we have to understand that all of our high holy days, this is not a high holy day, but this is an observance. All of our high holy days and our observances are important because these are our days. These are the days that the Lord ordained. These are the days that the Lord wants us to remember. We got to understand, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like in our high holy days from, you know what I mean, the Sabbath, the Passover coming up in Raleigh, North Carolina, you know, all the way down, you know what I mean, to the Feast of Tabernacles. Those are our high holy days, and our observances that we observe, which are not Sabbaths or high holy days, are the, you know what I mean, the Hanukkah, the Feast of the Dedication, and, you know what I mean, the Feast of Purim. Now, the Feast of Purim is very important because we remember, you know what I mean, a brother, you know what I mean, Mordecai and his niece, Esther, and how, you know what I mean, the Lord used them to save all of Israel. And it's important to go back and read and understand and remember these things. If I could, you know, Mathum, give me a Deuteronomy before we start in Esther. Give me Deuteronomy 32 and verse 7.
Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 7.
Remember what?
The days of old.
Remember the days of old. We got to remember the days of old. We have to remember how things were when it comes with our people, because we are the Jews, the Israelites of antiquity, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. We have to remember the days of old. We have to remember our high holy days, our observances, our, you know what I mean, how we conducted ourselves, how we moved. Because here in captivity, here in Babylon, here in America, guess what? They want us to be alternative lifestyle, homosexual, want us to be on drugs, want us to be evil, wicked, disgusting bastards. And we are not. We are the Lord's chosen people, and we are commanded to remember the days of old. Read on.
Consider the years of many generations.
Consider the years of many generations. Consider the years of all of them, you know what I mean, that came, you know what I mean, before us, those generations that came before us, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. Read.
Ask thy father.
Ask thy father, meaning ask thy father. Keep going.
And he will show thee.
And he will show thee. Ask thy father and he will show thee. Meaning this, man, when it says ask thy father and he will show thee, you know what I mean? The important thing to know about this, when it says ask thy father and he will show thee, here in the UPK, man, we got Commander General Yohana who held on to this truth. And Commander General Yohana was an excellent son, made Chief Head Priest Ariah rise again. You know what I mean? And for you evil bastards out there, you know what I mean, mocking, you know what I mean, or, you know, Chief High Priest Ariah and talking shit, you are ungrateful bastards, mamzers. And you have no right, you know what I mean, to disrespect, you know what I mean, our brother, our father, you know what I mean, who raised up, you know what I mean, along with the other 7 heads that built this truth, man, that the Lord ordained. And that's why y'all not in the truth, because Commander General Yohana never left. He's been doing this since the 80s, and we've been doing this in the UPK since 1969. Since 1969, man. And here in the UPK, I mean, Commander General Yohana was not only an excellent son, now he's an excellent father, raising up other brothers, raising up, you know what I mean, the generals, General Muhammad, General Mayat, General Hazayan, General Shamar, General Kathum, General Kabbalah Mouth, and these captains and officers and troopers. Meaning this, you have someone to ask. You have the UPK, because the ISUPK is the daddy of all of you break off, all of you bastard children that want to go out there and play priest and masquerade as a priest.
Right.
We are your daddy. Keep going.
Thy elders, and they will tell thee.
And thy elders, and they will tell thee. That's why we're telling you right now that you have to come back into this truth. You got to come back to One West. One West ain't never fall. One West is still standing here in the ISUPK under Commanding General Yohana. That's why it is important for us to remember these days, to remember the days of old. Ask thy father. We're going to show you. Here in the UPK, we are going to show you how it's done. That's why we're here. Now, if I could, let's get started. Let's get right into it. Give me Esther, you know what I mean, Quatatha. Give me Esther, the first chapter.
That's the book of Esther,
Yeah, Esther 1:1. Start there.
Right. I think it was. No, I think chapters.
So, like, you want to go to Esther in the Bible? You in the Apocrypha, right? Esther's in the Bible. Right?
Oh, Slash, so.
Kalak is up. Just 1 second. You gotta hold the guard down with. Kalak, all right? Yep. You're thinking about Esther, that's the additions to Esther in the Apocrypha. And that's another thing, too. If I could sidebar into how evil the oppressor is that everyone needs to get this King James Apocrypha. When King James, who was a black man, by the way, had the Bible translated, you know what I mean? The Catholic Church and the oppressor had this removed. But if you look in the 1611 King James Bible, this Apocrypha was a part of the Bible. You can get a 1611 KJV now. But if you don't have a 1611, you can get a King James Bible, and then you can also get a King James Apocrypha because there are additions to Esther here in the Apocrypha. Now, let's go to Esther chapter 1 and verse 1.
Book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1.
Go ahead.
Now it came to pass in the days of
Ahasuerus.
Mm-hmm. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia.
Now, Ahasuerus was a heathen king that ruled, you know what I mean, from India, ruled then over there and into Ethiopia. Keep going.
Over 107 provinces.
Over a bunch of different provinces, man. He was in charge. Keep going.
Verse 2. That in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace. Mm-hmm. Verse 3. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes.
Now, he made a feast for all of his princes. He had a feast for all of his princes, everyone that was under him in rank. Keep going.
And servants, the power of Persia and Media.
Now, the assertions of the power of the Persia and Media, which goes to show you Ahasuerus was a heathen king. And like I was going over Thursday, like the captivities we were in, you know what I mean? Ahasuerus, you know what I mean, was part of the, the Persian, the Medo-Persian Empire, where he was, you know what I mean, after, you know what I mean, in Babylon. We were in Babylon under the Babylonians with Nebuchadnezzar, under, you know what I mean, Darius with the Persians and the Medes, and then the Greeks and the Romans. We spent a lot of time in captivity, Akwafia. You know what I mean? For the reason, I'm pretty sure we all know why. Disobeying our God. Right. Now, this is a heathen king, you know what I mean, ruling over, you know what I mean, Persia and the Medes. Keep going.
The nobles and the princes of the provinces being before him. Mm-hmm. Verse 4. When he shewed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days. Mm-hmm. Even 180 days.
Yeah, he was bragging about the stuff that he got. You know what I mean? He was bragging about all the assets he had, all the gold. Keep going.
Verse 5. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all people that were present in Shushan, the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Mm-hmm. Verse 6. Where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings.
Man, he was having a nice banquet, a nice feast. Now let me skip you down. Drop down to verse 9.
Verse 9. Also, Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to the king and
Ahasuerus.
Ahasuerus.
Now, Vashti was the queen. Meaning Vashti, you know what I mean, was the queen, you know what I mean, over there, and his wife. Keep going.
Verse 10. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abegtha. Mm-hmm. Zethar, and Carcass,
Go on.
the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Azorius, the king.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 11, to bring Vashti, the queen, before the king with the crown royal.
Now he's having this feast. You know what I mean? He's getting everybody together, and he's like, you know what? Bring the queen down here. Bring my woman down here. And he was trying to show her off. Now keep going.
Oh God. To shew the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Mm-hmm. Meaning she was fair to look on. She was pleasing to look on. So he wanted, you know what I mean, to show off Queen Vashti, you know what I mean, to his, you know what I mean, to his subjects and his, men under him at this party. Keep going.
Verse 12. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment.
Now she refused. She refused to come. Now, mind you, Erasmus is the king about it. And he's like, man, let me bring my woman down. He's, you know what I mean, drinking, having a good time. You know what I mean? He's like, you know what, bring Vashti down here. And Vashti said no. Boy, it ain't like that. It ain't like that. Keep going.
By his chamberlains.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore was the king very wroth.
Well, he was wroth. I know what wroth means. He was hot. Hey, shalom, warrior, Yeshua Thug. Let me put this in nigga terms for y'all. Meaning he was so upset, he was hot. Like imagine, you know what I mean, you call her down and she like, listen, you know what I mean, you know, she get orders, you know, the king wants to see you, you know, he having a party and everything. And she like, no, I ain't coming down there. Who is he? I gotta go see him when he tell me to come. And he was upset. And you about to find out. Matham, pick it up. Where you leave off at, Squad Design?
Verse 12.
Verse 12.
At the end.
Con, no sweat. After you finish the rest of verse 12, Matham, pick it up at verse 13.
And his anger burned in him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 14. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face and which sat the first in the kingdom.
Nah, they was upset. They was upset, you know what I mean, that Vashti did this. You know what I mean, that she refused to come at the king's becoming. Now we getting ready to go into it. I'm about to drop y'all down a little bit more. Hey, shalom, sister in Christ. Keep going.
Verse 15. What shall we do unto the queen, Vashti, according to law?
They said, now what we gonna do with her? What we gonna do? Keep going.
Because she had not performed the commandment, but also to the princes, and to all the people that are in the provinces of the king, Ahasuerus.
Now, what they saying is, they saying that not only did she offend the king, she also offended us. She offended everybody at this party, everybody under him. Drop down to verse 18.
Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen.
So like, go up to verse 17. That's good. Read verse 17, then keep going.
Verse 17. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
Now they're basically saying, because Vashti did this, she's going to encourage all the women to do that. All the women, you know what I mean, that disobeyed their husbands. Keep going.
So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. Now, what they didn't want to happen, they didn't want this to become a trend. They didn't want this to become a trend of, you know what I mean, wives despising, you know what I mean, and disrespecting and not listening to their husbands. Now, where is this going on right now? It's going on here in America. We see that now. What is the? I was on Twitter the other day, Quatazar, and sisters was lighting Sierra up. I was like, oh, what happened? Yeah, I mean, you know, she made some new music about being, you know what I mean, independent, being single, you know what I mean? You know, promoting, you know what I mean, feminism. And the sisters in the comments was like, hold up, sis, you married. You going home to your husband. We want what you got. It's good to see sisters starting to wake up and realize that they need brothers. But the narrative that's being pushed right now is that they telling our women, telling Black, Latina, and First Nation women, you know what I mean, that, oh, it's all right for you. You could be independent. You can do this. You can do that. You don't need that man. And this is what the heathens were worried about. That's why when you look at other cultures, you don't see what goes on with us that goes on with what goes on with them, because their women respect, you know what I mean, their men. I remember everybody was talking trash. You remember when Trump was talking about, yeah, we're gonna grab him by the female parts. Women still went out there and voted for Donald Trump. And through all phones on mute, through all of the hoopla, all of the fake outrage that Becky and Susan and Gretchen put up, they still went out and voted for him. That's why it's important to understand, man, like the scriptures say in Ephesians, man, for wives to submit yourselves, to your husbands. Like that is an important thing also to remember too in 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 3, the natural order. That the natural order is the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is the man. You need a brother in that house. You need a strong brother, you know what I mean, to raise you up and be the head of that household. Every Black man, every Latino man, every First Nation man. Shalom, sir. Yes, sir. You want it right away, sir? Come. Every sister needs to understand, man, that man is the head. Because here in America, this narrative that they pushing right now is ridiculous. Like right now, like I was saying, Quadrazal, like you got Sierra, who is a happily married woman. And she did something, you know what I mean, that is unbelievable, you know what I mean, in most eyes of every brother in the world. You left the toxic Negro to get a so-called good brother. And now that you left the toxic brother in future, you got the good brother, Russell Wilson, and you still complaining. You still upset. Goes to show you. This narrative that's being pushed right now is not right. It's not of the Most High. It's just this, submit yourselves to your husband. Don't mean that you a slave. You're not a slave. You know what I mean? He's not supposed to beat you or abuse you. None of that. You know what I mean? Just understand that he is your head. Let's keep going.
When it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti, the queen, to be brought in before him.
Mm-hmm.
But she came not.
She came not. Now he ordered her to come again, and she came not. Keep going. Now read verse 18.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the kings, princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
They said much rise, too much contempt and wrath. They trying to make sure, man, that their whole system don't fall out of whack and don't fall out of order. You know what I mean? Where a trend comes where the women is going to start, you know what I mean, despising their husbands and despising brothers and disrespecting them. Now, let's keep going.
Verse 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
He said, now let's give her a state, you know what I mean? Let's give her state. Let's give her spot, her position to someone that is better than her. I mean, he about to get rid of Vashti. Now, I pick it up. Give me, we're going to drop down. Give me Esther chapter 2, right? Esther chapter 2. Let's start at verse 1.
Okay. This is the book of Esther, chapter 2 and verse 1. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Verse 2. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king.
When it says let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, I mean, a fair young, you know what I mean, young women, you know what I mean, of marriageable age. You know what I mean? Women of marriageable age, you know what I mean? You know, there has to be some of them. Like, get over Vashti. Like, it's all right. Vashti long and gone. She out of here. Keep going.
Oh God.
Verse 3. And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace.
He said, let's get all the young virgins, meaning let's get all, you know what I mean, the women, you know what I mean, the marriageable age, of course, you know what I mean. He wasn't going out there looking for little kids like by, you know what I mean, little girls. God damn, you got a lot of bastards out here, you know what I mean, are real sick in the mind that are perverted. A lot of your fake Israelite groups too, a lot of them. Keep going.
To the house of the women,
Mm-hmm.
unto the custody of Hegi, the king's chamber,
Mm-hmm.
keeper of the woman,
Mm-hmm.
and let their things for purification be given them.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 5. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew.
Now there was a certain Jew out there in Shushan. Keep going. Now you're about to get into it.
Whose name was Mordecai.
Whose name was what?
Mordecai.
Now whose name was Mordecai. Remember this name, man. Mordecai is a very important brother, man. Keep going.
The son of Jair.
Mm-hmm.
The son of Shimei.
Mm-hmm.
The son of Kish, a
Mhm.
Benjamite. Verse 6.
Now, Mordecai was of the tribe of Benjamin. Mordecai would be a West Indian brother today. Because the tribe of Benjamin, the so-called West Indians, you know what I mean, you know, from Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, you know what I mean, Trinidad and Tobago. Keep going.
Verse 6. Who have been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which have been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah.
Now, this is important, right, to understand that who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity. Meaning, this is when we went back, like Mordecai was one of them brothers that was taken away with us in captivity into slavery. Which captivity was this? It's going to tell you. It's the Babylonians. Keep going.
Whom Nebuchadnezzar,
man, that bastard. Gotta understand, man. Like how you got Donald Trump and Joe Biden today and Putin, you know, Pooh Shiesty. You know what I mean? Like how you had Pharaoh back then, like you had Ahasuerus, you had monsters like Nebuchadnezzar, man. That put us in, you know what I mean? It took us into captivity and abused our people. Keep going.
whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
Mm-hmm. Meaning Mordecai was one of those brothers. He was one of those Jews that was taken away into slavery into Babylon. Keep going.
Verse 7. And he brought up Hadassah,
Mm-hmm.
that is Esther,
Mm-hmm.
his uncle's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
for she had neither father nor mother,
Mm-hmm.
and the maid was fair and beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
So he took his uncle's, you know what I mean, daughter, you know what I mean, and raised her like she was his. Now, Esther and Mordecai of the tribe of Benjamin. We're talking about a West Indian sister right here. Now we're about to get into it. Keep going.
Verse 8. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace,
Mm-hmm.
to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house.
Now, when they brought all those women out, you know what I mean, for Ahasuerus to see, you know what I mean, Esther was also among them. Keep going.
To the custody of Hegai, keeper of the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 9. And the maiden pleased him.
And the maiden what?
Pleased him.
And the maiden pleased him. Meaning out of all, now I want you to understand like this picture, right? It's a bunch of women here, different nationalities. You know what I mean? Different heathens. But she stood out. He saw Esther and was like, God damn. You know what I mean? And that goes to show you too, man. You know what I mean? How important it is. If I can speak on something, you know, I taught on this Thursday, the importance, you know what I mean, of you know what I mean, of us brothers and sisters, man, realizing that if you are, you know what I mean, an Israelite, if you are a Black, Latino, or First Nation, the importance of marrying our own. Not going out to the Philippines, Quatazar, and being a passport brother. Not going to Thailand. Not going, you know what I mean, to some place in Taiwan. Got to understand the importance, you know what I mean, of our women. Keep going.
And she obtained kindness of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he speedily gave her things for purification,
Mm-hmm.
with such things as belonged to her,
Mm-hmm.
and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house.
Mm-hmm.
And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the woman.
Now he preferred her and her maids to the best place of the house where the women were. Keep going.
Verse 10. Esther had not skewed her people nor her kindred.
What does that mean? Well, Esther had not shewed her people nor her kindred. What does that mean? All right, y'all knew the Bible last week. Yeah, I mean, this week. Go ahead, Quadazar. Say it again, Ibad.
This is the book of Esther, 2 and verse 10. Esther had not shewed
Shewed meaning showed. Keep going.
her people nor her kindred.
Meaning this. She didn't reveal that she was a Jew. She didn't reveal her identity. That's what that means. When it says he's not shewed, when you see shewed, that means shows. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred. Meaning they don't even know Esther is a Jew. Keep going.
For Mordecai had charged her that she should not shew it.
Now, Mordecai had charged her, had told her not to show it. And guess what? She listened to Mordecai. She listened to him. You know what I mean? The counsel that he gave her, you know what I mean? Raising her up, you know what I mean? Righteously, of course. She obeyed. Keep going.
Verse 11. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the woman's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her.
Now, Mordecai, you know what I mean, as any concerned father would be, you know what I mean, walk the court where the women were, you know what I mean, checking up on her, you know, checking to see, you know what I mean, if Esther is all right, if she's to wild, as he should, because that's what every father is supposed to do when you have daughters, man, to raise these babies upright. Keep going.
Verse 12. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the woman. For so were the days of their purification accomplished. To wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the woman. Verse 13. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the woman unto the king's house. Verse 14. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the woman, to the custody of Shaashgaz, the king's chamber, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name.
Drop down to verse 17.
Verse 17. And the king loved Esther above all the women.
He loved Esther above all the women, meaning he favored her above all those women that he seen. Keep going.
And she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins.
I mean, out of all of the others, all the other women of marriageable age, you know what I mean? He favored her. Keep going.
So that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
Meaning he saw Esther and set that royal crown upon her head, you know what I mean, and made her queen instead of Vashti. Meaning Esther just took Vashti's place. Keep going.
Verse 18. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king.
Keep going.
Verse 19. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate.
Now Mordecai sat in the king's gate because Mordecai was around. Mordecai was doing what he was supposed to do. Keep going.
Verse 20. Esther had not yet shewed her kindred nor her people.
Now she still didn't reveal her identity. She still didn't reveal that she was a Jew because she listened, you know what I mean, to what Mordecai told her. Keep going.
As Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were robbed, and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. Verse 22. And the thing was known to Mordecai.
Now it came to pass, right, that it was these two people, Bethan and Taraz, which kept the door, and they were wroth and sought to lay hands on King Harassers. And they was getting ready to lay hands on Harassers. Keep going.
And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen.
Now Mordecai found this out and was like, "Yo, let Esther." Told Esther, like, "Yo, Esther, let Harassers know. You know what I mean? This 2 months was over here plotting on him." Keep going.
And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. Verse 23. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out.
Well, inquisition meaning they investigated and they found out. Keep going.
Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree.
They were both hung on a tree because they was plotting to take out Harassers. They was plotting on it. Keep going. And they found out about it. You know what I mean? Mordecai found out about it, let Esther know, and then Esther let Harassers know. They ended up hanging them on a tree. Keep going.
And it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3 and verse 1. After these things, they King Ahasuerus promote Haman.
Promote who?
Haman.
Remember this name. Remember this name. Now, Ahasuerus promoted Haman. And Haman is a diabolical bastard. We about to go into him right now and what he was planning to do. Keep going.
The son of Hammedatha, Hammedatha, the Agagite.
The what?
The Agagite.
The Agagite. I'll be shocked if I don't raise your hand. If y'all know what that means. When it says Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Y'all got to study. Y'all going to have to study. When it says that he's an Agagite, he's a descendant of somebody. He's a descendant of Agag. Who is Agag? I'll take someone online if they know it. I'll take someone online. Hold where you at. Let's get a little brief history on Agag real quick. Somebody get me 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel. Yeah, give me 1 Samuel. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, give me 1 Samuel 15. My thumb, give me 1 Samuel chapter 15. 15 and verse 1. First Samuel, read verse 2.
1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 2.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel.
I remember what?
That which Amalek did to Israel.
What Amalek did to Israel. What did Amalek do to Israel? What did Amalek do? What did Amalek do? Y'all know who Amalek is? You do, Mathon. Who's Amalek?
The so-called Jews.
Give him a listen. You're right. That is who the so-called Jew is today. Our God is saying, I remember what Amalek did. Do anybody know what Amalek did? Go ahead.
Cover the faces of the judges.
All of Esau did that. But it's a specific thing that Amalek. Go ahead, Mathon. I'll give you another shot. That too. That you're not wrong. You're not wrong. They did all of that. Amalek, you know what I mean? Go ahead, Ibad. Go ahead.
Went to the rear of the line and killed our weak servant.
Give her a hand. Now, when we came out of Egypt, you know what I mean? When Moses, you know what I mean, led us up out of Egypt, man, by the grace of the Most High, got up out of there. Amalek attacked us. Now we had our weak, our sick, and our babies at the rear, while the strong was up front. So imagine we marching out, right? Thumb, Ibad, Kalakazar, Quatazar, we all up in the front. But but our elderly is in the rear. Our children, our sick are at the rear. And that's who they attack. That's who they come after. They don't take us on straight up. They go and attack, our weak, our sick, our babies, our elderly. That's why our God is saying, I remember that which Amalek did. Meaning our God remembers what the so-called Jew did to our people. He remembers this. Like our God sees everything, man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. He also said the wicked will not go unpunished, man. They're not going to go unpunished. Our God said, listen, I remember what Amalek did. Keep reading where you are.
How he wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt.
Mm-hmm. When we came up from Egypt, they waited by the way on us. Man, they was plotting on us. They came and plotted on us, man, and decided, to come at our weak and attack us. And that just goes to show you what type of coward the oppressor is. And this is what I need you to understand. This is the other side of critical race theory that they don't want to be known. They've always been cowards. The oppressor is the type of man that will go up to Buffalo, New York, and kill the elderly and children and the weak of our people in a top supermarket. That don't sound familiar to you? Don't sound familiar? That's the description. That's the identity. That's how we know who he is. Because that level of cowardice, that level of weakness and shame, that's in all of those oppressors. Just like that oppressor that went up to that top, in Buffalo, that killed our elderly, man. It's the same thing what Amalek did. And that's in all of the oppressors. They don't want to take you straight up. They don't want to fight, come and attack us straight up. They don't want to do that. They don't. That's why it's important, man. If our God remembers, we're supposed to remember. And like you said, Bethum, another thing, they stole our identity. So the charges are just racking up. And guess what? Our God got something for him. I pray you understand. Keep reading.
Verse 3. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they had.
Now listen, the Lord, told Samuel, to go tell Saul, who was king of Israel at the time, go and smite Amalek and destroy all that they had. Our God told them to say, man, listen, Samuel, because Samuel, was the prophet back then, told him, go tell Saul, who's king of Israel, that I said, go smite Amalek. Go get all of them. Get them all up out of here. Keep going.
And spare them not.
And what?
Spare them not.
And spare them not. Our God told us, man, go get rid of all of them and spare them not. Meaning don't spare not a single one of them. Keep going.
But slay both man and woman.
Damn, the Lord says slay the men and women. Keep going.
Infant.
Infant and suckling. Why? Because they didn't spare us. They attacked our weak at the rear. Our God, told Saul, go and spare not the men, women, or the babies. Get rid of Amalek. Amalek ain't really supposed to be here. They not. But we're going to get to that in a second. Then we're going to come back to Esther. Keep going.
Ox and sheep.
Ox and sheep. He said, get their animals up out of here too. Get their oxen, get their sheep out of here as well. Keep going.
Camel and ass.
Camel and ass. Meaning I don't want nothing of theirs to survive. Keep going.
Verse 4. And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim. 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Judah.
Now drop down to verse 7. Meaning Saul got, Saul got the army together, got the forces together to go smite Amalek, but he made a mistake. He messed up. Read verse 7.
Verse 7. And Saul smote Amalekites from Havilah until thou comest to Shur. That is over against Egypt.
Now he smoked them. He did it. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. Now you read that and you think, hey, Saul did what he was supposed to do. He smoked Amalek. He killed him. He got rid of him. Now keep reading.
Verse 8. took to Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive.
He did what?
He took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive.
He took Agag alive, meaning he spared Agag. Saul messed up. Saul messed up. He was supposed to get rid of everybody, right? He's supposed to get rid of all the Amalek Kalatazar, right? But he spared Agag. He spared Agag. That's a problem. And in sparing Agag brought consequences, man. Brought consequences that we had to deal with up until the point with Esther. Now, we can go back to Esther. You know what I mean? Go back to where we were, Ibad. Let's go back to where we were. And what became of Agag? You know what I mean? That's why Saul, you know what I mean, ceased from being king of Israel and why David was raised up and made king. Because of Saul's disobedience, you know what I mean, David became king of Israel. And Christ comes from the lineage of David, man, of the tribe of Judah. And it's important to understand, man, like the importance of obedience. As a matter of fact, before we get there, I knew it was something else again. Stay in 1 Samuel. Stay in 1 Samuel. Drop down to verse 13. Go 1 Samuel 15 and verse 13.
1 Samuel 15 and 13. And Samuel came to Saul.
Now, Samuel came to Saul. Now, the Lord came to Samuel and told him what Saul did, on how he messed up, that he spared Agag. And you know what I mean? Samuel was distraught a little bit. He was like, God damn, man, he disobeyed. And the Lord had to let Samuel know, listen, I'm getting Saul up out of here. We're getting a new king. Go check Saul. And Samuel went to go check him. Ooh-wee. Keep going.
And Saul said unto him, Blessed be thou of the Lord. I have performed the commandment of the Lord.
Now, Saul is saying, blessed be thou. I performed the commandment of the Lord. He's saying, yes, sir, I did it. Con out of one con. I fulfilled my orders, my duties. And Samuel about to look at him like, excuse me? Keep going. Read.
Verse 14. And Samuel said, What meaneth then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears?
Now, Samuel was like, what is this noise that I'm hearing? The bleating of the sheep. Because what Saul did, Saul ended up sparing not just Agag, but the best of his sheep and oxen and cattle, when the Lord specifically said, go kill all of them, including, you know what I mean, their animals, all that. Saul disobeyed an order. He didn't do what the Lord said. And that's why Samuel was checking him like, yo, what is the bleating of the sheep that I'm hearing right now? Why am I hearing sheep in my ear? Didn't the Lord say, go kill all of them? I shouldn't hear sheep. I shouldn't hear oxen. I shouldn't. And we're going to get to that. Keep going.
And the load of the oxen which I hear. Verse 15. And Saul said, They have brought them from the Amalekites. For the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto the Lord thy God. And the rest we have utterly destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, man. Saul disobeyed the Lord. The Lord told Saul, you know what I mean, not to spare nothing, not to spare anything. And here's the thing that we got to understand, the point of it. Drop down to verse 22, because Saul is trying to make the excuse like, oh, but I spared it for us. I spared it for the Lord, you know what I mean, for the sacrifices, you know what I mean, that we could do. No. The Lord has no use of that. We're about to explain why, and why it's important to do what our God says to do, and why it's important to follow orders. Drop down to verse 22.
1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 22. And Samuel said, Hath the Lord has great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices.
As the Lord have great offerings and burnt offerings and sacrifices, meaning this. As the Lord have delight in that, which is important, man, and why, you know what I mean, our King is so important. Because of Christ, man, you know what I mean? We don't have to sacrifice animals anymore. But the point is, you think the Lord delights, you know what I mean, in us messing up? You think our God, Yahweh, delights in us making mistakes and sinning And then, hey, let me go bring my best ox. Let me go bring my best cattle, which is supposed to hurt you. The point of it was supposed to hurt you to the point where, damn, I don't want to give up my best lamb. Damn, I don't want to give up my best ox. You know what I mean? But we took advantage of that. We took advantage of it. And guess what? The Lord is saying, you know what I mean, which is important. What delight do I have in these things? What delight do I have, you know what I mean, in these sacrifices, man? Now, keep going.
As in obey.
As in what?
Obey.
As in what?
Obey.
As in obeying. Meaning it is better to obey. It is better, you know what I mean, to follow orders. It is better, you know what I mean, to keep these commandments. And this goes back not just here, but all the way back even to the beginning with Adam, you know what I mean, which is important, you know what I mean, of the tree of, you know what I mean, of good and evil. It's better for us just to know the good and not know the evil. But because, you know what I mean, even Adam messed up, guess what? Now we know what it's like to be punished. But it'd be better to do what? Read that line again.
As in obey.
As in obeying. It would have been better just to obey. You know why? And I know when we come up in this truth, right? I mean, you know, some of us, you know, when you come up in there, you heartbroken that you can't do certain things. You're like, why can't I eat tuna? Why can't I smoke weed? Why can't I smoke my Reggie? Why can't I do this? You know why? Because God said so. Because the Lord said so. It's better to obey. Because when you don't obey, you get punished. And Saul lost everything. Lost everything. King of Israel at the time. Lost it all because he did not obey. And more importantly, it's not just that he didn't obey. He tried to justify it. Meaning he wasn't a repentant brother neither. He wasn't. He was trying to justify his wickedness in disobeying the Most High. Don't do that. You mess up, own it. You know what I mean? Own it. And it's important to realize, man, if we just obey and do what our God said to do, we're not going to have no problems. There ain't going to be no issues. Like, we're not going to have to know. And that's the point of it, too. If you look at every captivity that we have ever been in, you know what I mean? Not obeying the Lord lost us our identity, our culture, our ways. And now we got a descendant of this bastard Haman and Agag. Like, Agag's descendants are still here today. Haman's descendants are still here today. They're in Israel. They're in Tel Aviv right now. Right now. Some silly looking yarmulkes on their heads, you know what I mean, molesting kids. Goes to show you, man, the importance of obeying our God. Now, let's go back to Esther.
This book of Esther, 3, verse 1. Mm-hmm. After these things, the king Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him.
Now, he advanced him, meaning this. Agag was this bastard Haman is a descendant of Agag, and he got promoted through the ranks. You know what I mean? Under King Ahasuerus. Keep going.
And set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Mm-hmm. And set him above all of the princes that was with him. Put him above all of them. So he's directly under King Ahasuerus. Keep going.
Verse 2. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed in reverence Haman.
They all bowed in reverence Haman. They all bowed down to him. Keep going.
For the king has so commanded concerning him.
Mm-hmm.
But Mordecai bowed not.
Mordecai didn't do what?
Bowed not.
Mordecai bowed not. Ooh-wee. Meaning when Haman was coming out all proud and puffed up because he got promoted, he the number 2 guy, everybody bowed, you know what I mean, and showed reverence to him. But Mordecai did not bow. Why didn't Mordecai bow? Why didn't Mordecai bow? You don't know why? Go ahead, Quadazar.
Because he loves his God more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He loved the Most High. Mordecai understood that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. You know what I mean? Peter and the other disciples said in Acts 5:29, we best to obey God rather than men. Like Mordecai was like, who in the hell is he? Haman. Like, who do you think you are? He didn't bow. Keep going.
Nor did he reverence.
He ain't reverence him neither, meaning he didn't even acknowledge his existence. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Yeah, I mean, y'all all slave, right? There ain't nothing wrong. You know what I mean? Just y'all all slave, right? We all got slaveries, elevated plantations. You know when corporate come in and everybody just start turning into, not gonna use profanity because we got babies here, become, they put their rear end where the sun don't shine. You know what I mean? They just like, oh, how you doing, Mr. Jones? How you doing? You know what I mean, Mr. Walter? Oh, can I get you coffee? Can I do this? And he's sitting in there basking in it. And here go Kalatazar. Here go Kalatazar. Everybody in his face smiling over. Kalatazar don't even acknowledge his existence. They don't even acknowledge him. You can forget about it. I mean, some of y'all Kalatazar got too much stuff to be done. I mean, Tazalaya in there saving lives where she's slave. She ain't got time to reference no oppressor. To get no coffee for nobody. You can forget about Malakia. Malakia do everything like myself on company time and get away with it. not saying, not trying to get y'all fired from y'all slavery. I try to do that. But the point is, we didn't even acknowledge him because we know how they are. They come in, they think they bigger than what they are. We just like in our minds, like, who does he think he is? And he ain't like that. And they notice that too. Y'all know y'all be getting them side eyed at them slaveries, man. You wearing your shields, give them a gun down with dies. You know what I mean? Them looks can kill. Oh boy. Keep going.
Verse 3. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai,
oh man, here we go. Keep going.
Why transgresseth thou the king's commandment?
Why thou transgresseth the king's commandment? Why transgress the king's commandment? They step to Mordecai. They say, why didn't you do the king's commandment, Mordecai? What's wrong with you? You're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble, man. Keep going.
Verse 4. Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them.
Meaning they came to Mordecai daily, talking about, yo, brother, just bow down. Just acknowledge him. And Mordecai's like, no. And we need, listen, and brothers like Mordecai and sisters like Mordecai right here in the ISUPK, man. Right here in the truth. Bro, I can tell you why your house was shot. And they asking, why didn't you do the king's commandment? Because our God's laws, statutes, and commandments are far more important. And this has happened all throughout our history. Daniel went through this. They plotted against Daniel, Malachi. They plotted against their brother, Daniel Danyala in the Hebrew, minding his own business. And they said, man, he ain't gonna slip. How we gonna catch Daniel slipping? I got you. We're gonna make a law where he can't serve his God. And if he disobey the king's commandment, we're gonna throw him in there with them lions. Daniel said, not only am I going to pray today, you can lock me in there and throw away the key. And that's what happened. And guess what? I'll go over that in the previous class. And guess what? Daniel didn't fold. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego did not fold when Nebuchadnezzar, had a statue erected of himself and wanted everybody to bow down. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego was threatened with being thrown in a fiery burning furnace, man. And guess what? They didn't fold. You know who else did not fold? Who didn't fold in that matter, man, which is important for our people to understand. We just got done with the feast of the dedication, Hanukkah, man. Them brothers ain't folding. Them brothers, Mattathias and his sons, they didn't fold at all. They came to Mattathias the same way. They came to Mattathias, how they coming to Mordecai right now. And what do they do? What do they do? We know what they do. They came to Mattathias, Akim was like, yo, if you just do the king's commandment, you get all the gold, you get all the silver, and you fold. You sell out. You know who sold out? Your pastor sold out. Your imam sold out. Geno Jennings, this is nut at my slavery that come through and we talk about brother Yediah, Apostle Geno, you know what I mean? He teach a lot what you teach. I said, Geno don't teach what we teach, brother. I pray you understand. Geno sold out. Creflo Dollar sold out. I'll give you another example of somebody that sold out. Y'all remember what happened with Kyrie Irving, right? You had stepping fetching Negroes come on ESPN and NBA TNT. Claude, you remember Charles Barkley talking about, well, he's an idiot. He's making all that millions of dollars. How you go disrespect Adam Silver, who is Jewish dry snitching? And then you got Shaq. Got this nigga talking about, Kyrie messed up. He ain't supposed to do that. You making all that money. You're not supposed to compromise the money. You're supposed to go with the bag. like I did with that Papa John's chicken, that Papa John's pizza. Shaq compromised. Shaq ain't fold. Papa John's went. Listen, the founder of Papa John's stood up in a meeting. It was like, y'all acting like I called y'all niggas like Colonel Sanders and KFC. Everybody was outraged. Not Shaq. They came to Shaq and was like, well, Shaq, can you help us out? I'll do it for free. Just let me make the pizza. And now you see Shaq's face. He's the new face of Papa John's. Be your own niggas. Be your own people. Be like Mordecai. Be like Daniel. Be like Mattathias. Don't compromise. I'll tell you somebody else that didn't compromise. Commander General Yohana did not compromise. You had brothers talking some outlandish stuff. One brother talking about he's the Holy Spirit and the Comforter. You got other brothers talking about that you can molest little girls. You got other brothers that think it's acceptable to have the Passover in a strip club. Kalatazar. It's the same brothers that disrespected Chief Head Priest Ariah are having that Passover in a strip club this week. God damn. Like, Commander General Yohana did not compromise, man. He did not fold. And that's who we have to be like. Because everybody else, they'll fold when it comes to money. They'll fold when it comes to the lust, you know what I mean, of this world, to all that temptation. They come into Mordecai the same way. They're like, yo, you're not supposed to transgress the king's commandment. You know what's going to happen. Hey, Haman ain't going to like this. And Mordecai is like, I ain't going to say it. Mordecai is like, F Haman, F Ahasuerus, F all this. I'm doing what my God said to do. I ain't bowing down to him. Who is he? Keep reading. Who is reading? Come on, keep going. I'm going to have you pick up in the second quarter.
That they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand.
Mm-hmm. And what they do? They would have snitched on Mordecai. Y'all got them at y'all slaveries too. Y'all got somebody at the slavery, the job to be snitching on you. Talk about, let me tell you what Quatazar did. Let me tell you what my thumb did. They snitch on me all the time. God damn. Keep going.
For he had told them that he was a Jew.
And he had told him that he was a Jew. He said, you know why I'm not bowing down to Haman? You know why I'm not doing the king's commandment? Because I'm a Jew. And that is important to understand, man, and how powerful that is. Because we are the Jews of antiquity. Just him saying that, I'm a Jew. And it's burned in Haman because of who Haman is and who he comes from. Because there's a natural hatred that they have for us. Like Amalek can't stand us. All these heathens cannot stand us. But Amalek, boy, ooh-wee, they hate us. They do. Keep going.
Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
Listen, he found out about it. Keep reading.
Then was Haman full of wrath.
Haman was hot. He was full of wrath. Keep going.
Verse 6. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai.
God damn, read that again.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Meaning he wanted to lay hands on Mordecai. What does it mean that he wanted to lay hands on Mordecai? Y'all can raise your hands, man. Y'all know what it is. Kalatazar laid hands on a few people in this time. So if I buy. Y'all know what he meant. Yeah, I mean, he thought about it. Meaning this, he thought. You know why he thought? You know why he thought, right? Because they think about it all the time. You think Bill, Bob, and Fred is your friend. They can't stand us, man. They hate our people. He's our enemy. As a matter of fact, Quatazar, give me that. What is it I buy? Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10, where it says, trust not thy enemy. I want to say it's Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. You got to understand, man. They cannot stand our people. They hate us. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Quatazar, read it.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thy enemy.
Never what?
Trust thy enemy.
They are our enemies, man. They are our enemies. And Mordecai understood this. He understood Haman was our enemy. We don't understand that now. We think they're our friends. A lot of you at your slavery, you think Bob is a nice guy. You think Susan is all right. I don't care if they buy you lunch, breakfast, dinner. I don't care how many times they, greet you and just smile. Those are the ones I worry about mostly. They're the ones that I watch a little bit harder. Me personally, I'd rather you just come in there, just call me a nigga. That's it. Like, let's just get the pleasantries out the way. Don't be fake around me. But here's the thing: they hate our people, and we're not supposed to trust them. Like, we putting our trust in this place, man, is wrong. It's wrong, man. Keep going.
For like as iron rusteth.
As iron rusteth, because iron will eventually rust. Iron rusteth over time. Keep going.
So is his wickedness.
So is his wickedness. So is the wickedness of these people, man. So is the wickedness of them. Now drop down to verse 16.
Verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips.
An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. That's Joe Biden. That's, that's Kamala Harris. That's every white face with a smile that talks soft to us. They speak sweetly with their lips. And they sit up there, and talk nice to you at the job or whatever place you at. They talking nice now. I hear you. Keep going.
But in his heart,
meaning in his mind, this is what they're really thinking. Keep going.
He imagined how to throw thee into a pit.
He imagined how he can throw you into a pit. He trying to throw you into a pit, trying to get rid of you, man. That's why it's important to understand that they're not our friends. They're not your friends. They are our enemies. They are our enemies, and that's our problem. We want to be friends with these people. You want to have peace with them. You want to be in unity and prosperity with them. We can't do that. We can't do that as Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man, because they hate us. They speak sweetly with their lips, but in their minds, they imagine how to throw you in a ditch. Yeah, Quatazar, they looking at you with the slavery. Oh, man, Quatazar, you're a good guy, man. I'm going to the store. Do you want something? And then when he leaves, he like, man, let me see if I can throw him, and roll him over with that tractor. They'll do it. They will do it. That's why it's important to understand that they are our enemies. Shalom, sir. Y'all about to stuff. So, like, sir, you want to take it? Come. All right, go back to where you were, all right, bud.
Oh, God. This is the book of Esther, 3, and verse 6.
Go ahead.
For they eschewed him the people of Mordecai.
Now, they eschewed him the people of Mordecai, meaning this. He hates all of our people, man. The people of Mordecai, which are Jews, man. Read that last line again. Announce where you at.
This is the book of Esther, 3, and verse 6.
Go ahead.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had shewed him the people of Mordecai.
Now they showed him the people of Mordecai. They said, wait a minute, Mordecai is a Jew. And now all of them, they Jews too. Now they're trying to put us under the microscope. Keep going.
Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
Haman started to do what?
Sought to destroy all the Jews.
Meaning Haman sought to destroy all the Jews. Haman sought to get rid of all us, man. He started plotting on us. How do you know? They tried this before. Haman is a descendant of who? Agag. Agag is a descendant of who? Amalek. They tried to get rid of us before, man, when we was coming out of Egypt. Man, and they tried to take the easy way. They tried to attack us, and get our women and our children and our elderly. Now Haman is plotting to get rid of all of us, to kill all of us. Keep going.
That were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus. Even the people of Mordecai.
Meaning he's coming up with a plan, to exterminate, to kill all the Jews, all Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Why? All because Mordecai did not want to bow down to Haman. Keep reading.
Verse 8, or verse 7. And the first month, that is the month of Nisan, and the 12th year of the king Ahasuerus, they cast her, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. Verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people.
Now they snitching, like God. They snitching now. You hear him snitching come out his eye. He's like, listen, there's people that are diverse from us that have these laws. You know what I mean? They don't worship the gods. They didn't worship the gods of Babylon. They didn't worship the gods, you know what I mean, of the Persians and the Medes. Meaning their laws are diverse. They don't eat catfish. They don't eat tuna. They don't eat pork or crab or lobster. They don't live alternative lifestyles. Keep going.
Neither keep they the king's law.
They don't keep the king's laws. Keep going.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
It ain't, meaning he's saying it ain't, it's not good for us to suffer them. We can't allow them to just be and do their own thing. No, we can't have that. Keep going.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
Listen, read that last line again.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
He said, if it please the king, man, let it be known, let them be destroyed. Meaning now he's putting his plan into motion. Keep going.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business.
Listen, he's trying to finance it. Meaning he was trying to commit mass genocide on all Jews, on all blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And he was going to finance it. He was going to finance it, man. He was going to finance it. Put the money behind it, man. Keep going. Shalom, Lord Christ, word.
To bring it to the king's treasury. Verse 10.
Nah.
And
it ain't that type of night. I've been on a roll after a while. We'd have got clipped a while ago. Keep going, bud.
Oh God, verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman.
Now he took his ring, right, and gave it, to Haman. Keep going.
The son of Hammedatha, Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
The Jews what?
Enemy.
The Jews what?
Enemy.
Meaning they are our enemies, man. They are our enemies, and this is here for us to understand it. Like, it ain't all sunshine and rainbows, man. We have enemies as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. We have enemies. Agag is our enemy, and his people, Haman, the so-called Jews, Amalek, all these oppressors and heathens, they are our enemies, man. And they plotting on us. They are plotting on our people. They plotting on us to this very day. Keep going.
Verse 11. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee.
Man, listen, you know what it means where it said the silver is given unto thee? The check in the mail. The check is in the mail. Now let's get started on exterminating these Jews. Let's get rid of Mordecai. Let's get rid of Esther. Let's get rid of all of them. Keep going.
Okay. The people also.
And the people also. Ooh-wee. And all of us. All of us. Some of y'all believe if you just be a good Negro or be a good, Uncle Tom, Negro, a good Uncle Tom Latino, or a good Uncle Tom Tomahawk. Can't do that. You cannot do that. As a Native Indian or a Seminole Indian First Nation, as a Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, or as a so-called Negro or West Indian or Haitian or Dominican, we got to understand, man, that these things are important to remember. That our enemies plotted on us, and they still plotting to this very day. Keep going.
So do with them as it seems good to thee. Verse 12. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. And the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring. Verse 13. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews.
All the what?
Jews.
Man, they send letters out to get rid of all of us. To get rid of all of us. Everywhere. Keep going.
Both young and old.
Both young and old. Meaning that's why when the precept says in Deuteronomy 28 and verse 48 through 50, man, You know what I mean? The oppressor did not regard, you know what I mean, the person of young or old. They don't care how old or young we are. They was trying to exterminate us. Keep going.
Little children and women.
Little children and women too. Oh no, they don't spare the children and the women. You know what I mean, when they try to cross the border, they don't spare them. They lock them up in cages too. You know what I mean? And to this very day, you know what I mean, down in the Rio Grande, down there in Mexico, which is so evil and goes to show you why it's important to remember this, because this still goes on. They'll let 500,000 Ukrainians walk through the Mexican border, but 5 Mexicans couldn't do that. 5 brothers and sisters from the tribe of Issachar couldn't do it. You couldn't be from the tribe of Levi and try to cross the Rio Grande without getting whipped, you know what I mean, and abused or getting killed, man. Goes to show you that this plot is very real. They show it every day. And guess what? They don't even hide it. There was a story not too long ago that we did on the radio show with Commander General Yohana about this little, how old was the brother? 11? Brother in Portland, Oregon, 11 years old, man. In his school, these two little white boys chased him down and threw him on the ground and made him reenact George Floyd's last moments. The hatred is very real. It's very real. And it's instilled, you know what I mean, at a young age. Goes to show you why it's important for us to come back and do what our God says to do. Once we identify them as our enemies and come back in here, we ain't got nothing to worry about. I pray you understand. But this is not going to cease. They're always going to have that deep hatred for our people, man. Keep going.
And one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and take the spoil of them for a present. Verse 14. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. Verse 15. The posts went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan, the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed.
Now understand this, right? Which is heavy, right? When that decree was sent out, you know what I mean, Haman and Erasmus, they sat down and had a drink. And now imagine, you know what I mean, this is being spread all throughout us, man, that they getting ready to exterminate us, that they getting ready to get rid of us. These two heathens are sitting there having a drink about it. Now, go to verse 4. Oh, Salaki, Esther chapter 4 and verse 1.
Oh God, this book Esther 4 and verse 1.
Go ahead.
When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes.
Mordecai rent his clothes, man. Meaning Mordecai lamented. Meaning Mordecai started praying to the Most High. Keep going.
And put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry.
Mordecai was a righteous brother, man. Went out there in the midst of the city, rent his clothes, man, and went out to the city and cried with a bitter cry. You know what I mean? To beseech our God, to cry unto our God. Because you got to understand, man, Mordecai was a righteous brother. And when you have righteous brothers and sisters, man, the Lord will hear us. It's a precept too, I want you to hold. I want you to hold 2 Chronicles 7 and verse 11 or 7 and 14. And what is so heavy about that, man, like, if we begin to do these things and come back into this truth, the Lord will deal with our enemies. The Lord will deal with our enemies. Our problem now is that we want to put our trust in everybody else. Like Mordecai didn't go and put his trust in the other neighboring nations, the Egyptians, you know what I mean, or the Greeks or the Babylonians. No, Mordecai did the right thing. Mordecai went to beseech our God, Yahweh. And that's what we have to do. And we got to stop running to the oppressor to think he's going to help us. Like, you know how silly that sounds, Cap? That'd be like me, right? I'm running away from the king cobra. But I'm running from the king cobra to go get help from the anaconda. They both going to devour you. When all we have to do as God's people is go back to our God. You got what I asked for, right, bud? Is that what I want? If my people? Is that it? Go ahead, read.
This book of 2 Chronicles 7 verse 14. If my people.
Read that again.
If my people.
First off, it says if my people. Who are the Lord's people? We are God's chosen people, man. The Lord don't love everybody and don't give a damn about everybody. He's saying if my people, keep going.
which are called by my name.
Which are called by my name. Yasha Allah, princes of the power, princesses of the power. If my people call upon my name, keep going.
Shall humble themselves.
Shall what?
Humble themselves.
Humble themselves. That's a rough one. You don't want to humble yourself here. You don't want to humble yourself. You want to continue to live the wicked lifestyle that you live in. But our God is saying that you humble yourself. Read.
And pray.
And what?
Pray.
Pray. Doing what Mordecai doing right now. Pray, Malaki. Keep going.
And
Keep going.
and seek my face.
Mm-hmm.
And turn from their wicked ways.
And turn from their wicked ways. Meaning that we seek the Lord's face and turn from our wicked ways. Guess what? Keep going.
Then will I hear from heaven.
Then will I hear from heaven. Then the Lord will hear us. You know why the Lord don't hear you now? Because you sinning. You're not doing what God said to do. You crying for the Most High, but you're not. You still smoking weed. I mean, you still being a whore. You still being a whoremonger. Tell me if this sounds familiar to everybody. God, if you just get me out of this one. If you just get me out of this one, I'll never do it again. And then you go and do it next week. Like that don't even make sense. But guess what? If we do what our God said, right, and humble ourselves and turn from our wicked ways, then will he hear. Lord heard Mordecai. Lord heard Mordecai because Mordecai is a righteous brother. Now, let's go back to Esther.
Okay.
The water for the precept, right, Bob?
Okay. This book Esther. To the 4 in verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out in the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
Meaning this, man, you put on sackcloth, man, the lament. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You put on that sackcloth, man. It wasn't, uncomely to come up, you know what I mean, to be up on the king's gate with just sackcloth. Keep going.
Verse 3. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews.
There was great mourning amongst our people, man, amongst the Jews, because we heard what happened. Keep going.
And fasted.
And fasted and weeping, meaning we was doing what our God said to do. We started to fast, you know what I mean? So our God can hear us, man. Keep going.
And wailing.
And wailing, you know what I mean? Them deep wails, that deep crying. Keep going.
And many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
And many laid in sackcloth with ashes, man. Not just Mordecai. A lot of our people went out there, you know what I mean, in sackcloth and prayed and fasted. Keep going. So our God will hear our affliction. Keep going.
Verse 4. So Esther's maid and her chamberlains came and told it her.
Meaning her maid, Esther's maids and chamberlains came and told Esther what was going on and what was going down. Keep going.
Then was the queen exceedingly grieved.
Man, she was exceedingly grieved. Meaning she was upset too. Keep going.
And she ran, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai.
Meaning she sent raiment, meaning she sent, you know what I mean, a garment, garments to go clothe, you know what I mean, her father Mordecai. She was like, oh man, like she saw Mordecai out there. They told her Mordecai was out there with that sackcloth. She said, oh man, let me go get my father, you know what I mean, some raiment. Go get him a garment and cover it. You know what I mean? You can't have him out here like that. But what Mordecai was doing was righteous. Keep going.
And to take away his sackcloth from him.
And to take away his sackcloth from him. Keep going.
But he received it not.
Mordecai what?
Received it not.
Mordecai received it not. He received it not. Mordecai said, I don't need that garment. I don't need that. I don't need that raiment. This is what I need you to do. Keep going.
Verse 5. Then called Esther to attack one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. Verse 6. So attack went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate.
Now Esther, right? She sent her chamberlain, you know what I mean, attack to go speak with Mordecai to ask, yo, what's going on? To get further details of what's happening. Keep going.
Verse 7. And Mordecai told him all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the monies that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Jews to destroy them.
And the sum of the king's treasuries too, man. Like it's something I overlooked too, I buy. What is another thing the so-called Jew is good for and known for? This right here, money. I brought up earlier, like how he was willing to finance, our destruction. The so-called Jew finances our destruction to this day. Who runs the rap world and industry? Who runs Hollywood and the industry, And the NFL and all of these different corporations, and fields where our people is in? The so-called Jew. Meaning this, Amalek is still financing our destruction till this very day. Keep going.
Verse 8. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given to Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her.
And declare it unto her. Meaning this, he showed her. He showed her this. Keep going.
And to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him.
He told Esther, he said, go to King Harassah and tell him, to let him know, what's going on and what's happening. Keep going.
And to make requests before him, before her people. Verse 9. And Hatak came and told Esther the words of Mordecai.
Now she came and told her the words of Mordecai. Now he told Hatak, now go tell Esther, go talk to King Ahasuerus about what's going on. Keep going.
Verse 10. Again, Esther spake unto Hatak and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. Verse 11. All the king's servants and all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death.
Now Esther was like, now hold up, Salakia, sir, Salakia Abba, telling Mordecai, like, hold up. I can't just go up into King Ahasuerus' palace. If I go in there and I wasn't called, I could be put to death. I wonder what Mordecai's response to her was. Keep going.
Except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter.
Now, if he hold up that gold scepter, you all right. Now, there's a chance that he don't hold up this scepter and you up out of here. But there is a chance, But if he hold that scepter up, you'll live. Keep going.
That he may live. But I had not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
Now, these 30 days, she wasn't called to come unto the king. And she's saying, I can't just roll up in there and stroll up and talk to him. Keep going.
Verse 12. And they told Mordecai Esther's words.
Now, they told Mordecai what Esther said. Keep going.
Verse 13. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house.
Read that again.
Okay.
This is so important what Mordecai told Esther. Like, he had to check her and let her know something, that's very true. Read that again.
Right.
That went over a lot of people's heads. Keep going.
Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
He said, don't think because you're the queen that they won't come and kill you too. Like Mordecai had to let Esther know, Ashtawak, like, yo, just because you up in there in that house with the king and you the queen, that Haman ain't coming for you too. A lot of y'all believe today, because you are so high up in the oppressor's kingdom, that, it can't happen to me. I'm safe. I'm cool. No, they coming for you too. It don't matter how much money you got. It don't matter what your title is. You think, which is just so heavy about it, right? You think because maybe, I play ball, I got money, I do this, I'm an accountant, I'm a CEO. They coming for you too. They coming for all blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. They coming for all of us. That's what Mordecai is reassuring to Esther, like, yo, you not safe in there with him. If anything, you might be one of the first ones to go because you right there living with the beast. You in the to quote my brother, man, you in the belly of the beast for real. I'm trying to tell you, Ibad, it's a rough one. It's a rough one. But here's the thing: Mordecai's a beast too. And we got something for it. There's no bigger beast, than our God, Yahweh. We got to understand as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, that's who we got to put our faith back into. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 14. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time,
Meaning if you hold your peace at this time, meaning if you continue to hold your peace at this time, keep going.
then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place.
Listen, maybe. If you won't, he basically telling us that if you won't do it, somebody else would do it. Keep going.
But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed.
Thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. Meaning if you don't do this, you will be destroyed. You're not getting away from it. You're not getting away from it. Keep going.
And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
And who knoweth, man? Who knoweth that thou shalt come into the kingdom at a time like this? Keep going.
Verse 15. That Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer.
Now, this is what Esther's response and answer was to Mordecai.
Verse 16. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me.
She said, all right, Father, all right, Abba, go get all the Jews in Shushan and go fast. Keep going.
And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day.
Neither eat nor drink for 3 days. Meaning Esther said, go and fast for 3 days. Don't eat nor drink. Keep going.
I also and my maidens will fast likewise.
She's saying myself and my maidens, me and the sisters, me and the Akwafian, we gonna fast too. Keep going.
And so will I go in unto the king.
She said, I'm gonna go on to the king. I'm gonna let him know. Keep going.
Which is not according to the law.
Which is not according to the law. Keep going.
And if I perish, I perish.
Read that again.
And if I perish, I perish.
Esther was one West, man. Give Esther a hand. Esther was hardcore. Esther said, if I perish, I perish. And that's the mindset that we have to have, man, as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. That's the recurring theme that we have to have. If I perish, so be it. I perish. You know who else did that? I brought them up. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. They answered Nebuchadnezzar, in the car, and said, even if God does not save us from this burning furnace, we still not going to bow down, to your image. That's how we have to be as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Just imagine, I'll give you this example after a while. Just imagine if the greatest man to ever do it was selfish. Because Christ was not selfish. Our King was a perfect man that gave up his life so we could live. Understand that. Gave up his own life so we could live, so we can have this opportunity to come back to our God. That's the mindset that we got to have, man. That's why Esther said, if I perish, I perish. And that's one West. That's one West. Keep going.
Verse 17. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
Go ahead.
Verse 5. This is the book of Esther, chapter 5, and verse 1.
The car, can you pick it up from Ibad, Esther 5 and 1? For what? In the book of Esther, chapter 5 and verse 1.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 5 and verse 1. Now it come to pass on the third day.
Salaki, Officer Murad, did you want to take it, sir? Con, sir. Go ahead, Nicole. I can work.
That Esther put on her royal apparel.
Now, Esther put on her royal apparel. Now, I'm about to break down and explain to sisters the power that you actually have. Because here in America, you think that your power is taking everything off and bearing it so everybody here, in the west and east and north and south of the poles and hemisphere to see. Now, Esther is getting ready to do something. Esther getting ready to go to war too, in her own way. There's a way for a sister to go to war. There is a way for a sister where she can fight. Keep going. Esther about to show it to you.
He stood in the inner court of the king's house.
Esther put on her royal apparel, meaning Esther put on that dress. She put on that long dress, put that perfume and stuff on, and keep going.
Over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house.
over against the gate of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2. And was so when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court.
Now, he saw Esther standing, you know what I mean, in the court. Now, mind you, you couldn't just roll up on Ahasuerus at any time. He had to call you. And if he didn't hold up that scepter, you was out. Esther was taking a big risk. But she also said, if I perish, I perish. She was one with. Now, she's standing there, all garbed up, you know what I mean, and her, you know what I mean, and her glorious dress and her apparel, head covered and everything. And Ahasuerus saw her. Keep going.
That she obtained favor in his sight.
She attained favor in his sight. Keep going.
The king held out Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and took the top of the scepter.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther?
He said, what's going on, Esther? You know what I mean? I wasn't expecting you. What's going on, sis? Keep going.
And what is thy request?
And what is thy request? What's going on? He saw her in that garment. All of a sudden, Ra saw her. He was like, yo, what, baby, what you need? What you want? And that's another thing, too, man. Like, if you want, listen, I'm speaking to the sisters for a second. If you want your husband to do, you know what I mean, do something for you, you ain't got to bash him. You ain't got to bother him and knack him, you know what I mean, every 5 seconds. You know what I mean? Put on that Captain Ariox oil. Put on that royal apparel. You know what I mean? And walk by with that sweet voice. He will be on the listen. If you ask him to go on the roof and fix the attic, he'll do it. You ask him to go outside and do whatever request that you got, he will do it. You want me to take out the trash? Gotta do what Esther did. Don't do what Eve doing in the world now, cussing and screaming. No, that's gonna cause them to go to that other sister house. The sister that's gonna do what Esther did. I pray you understand. Keep going.
You shall be given thee to the half of the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 4.
Wait, read that last line again.
It shall be given even. It should be even given thee to half of the kingdom.
Man, he saw her and said, what do you need, baby? You can get half the kingdom. Keep going.
And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, that the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. She
said, I need you and Haman to come to this banquet that I got prepared for you. Keep going.
Then the king said, because Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther had said.
Mm-hmm.
So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 6, and the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition?
Mm-hmm.
And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request?
Mm-hmm.
Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed.
Mm-hmm.
Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is. Verse 8, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said.
Listen, she's basically, to sum it up, I'm going to speed you up and drop you down for time's sake. She's saying, I want you, Erasmus, and I want Haman to come, you know what I mean, to this banquet, you know what I mean, bring everybody, invite everybody. I mean, tell Haman to bring his wife, bring his kids, bring people, you know what I mean, setting him up, basically. It's all about to be real. Now, Nicard, go to Esther chapter 7 and verse 1. Go to Esther 7.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Go to
It
Esther
looks like
7
an
and
issue
1.
with the
Hey,
router
Siri,
and Echo
what's like?
device, so try
Alexa,
restarting
stop.
them. Unplug both of them, then plug the router back.
God, excuse me. I'm calling for Alexa and Siri to shut up and stop. God damn. God damn. Go ahead, Mama Mariah. Got that spirit of got that spirit of fast. God damn. You know what I mean? Coming through it and doing what they not. Oh man, that's heavy, sir. So lock it. The car, go to Esther chapter 7 and verse 1 for time's sake. Good night. That's hilarious.
The book of Esther chapter 7. This is the book of Esther chapter 7 verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day of the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee.
Now, what's important to understand, now they at the banquet. Now they sitting there, you know what I mean? They chilling. Keep going.
And it shall be performed even to the half of the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3, then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and it shall please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
She said, let my life and my people's lives be petitioned at thy request, man. Keep going. Like, let our lives be given me at my request. Keep going.
For we are sold, and my people to be destroyed.
She's saying we are sold and my people to be destroyed. She's saying we marked for death. I mean, they plotting on us. Keep going.
Come, to be slain and to perish.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's mandate.
This is heavy. She's saying that we were just going to be sold as slaves. I would have held my tongue. She said, I would have held my tongue. You know what I mean? If it had just been bondage, if it had just been captivity. Because technically, we already in captivity. We already in slavery. And it says, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Meaning this, man, Haman, you know what I mean, is so evil, so wicked. All because, you know what I mean, Mordecai would not bow down to him. He put up that plan to get rid of all our people. Keep going.
Then the king, Ahasuerus, answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he?
Now he said, who is he? He said, who is he that's getting ready to set you up, man? I pick it up from the car.
Oh God.
Who is he? Yeah.
Who is he? Who is he and where is he?
Ahasuerus is like, who is he that's plotting on you and your people? Where is he? Man, who's trying to get rid of you, Esther? Who is he and where is he? I want to talk to him. I want to pull him to the side and have a nice conversation. You know what I mean? Keep going.
That durst presume in his heart to do so.
That presume in his mind to do so. Where he at? Where is he at? That's being unruly. That's getting ready to do this great evil. Keep going.
Verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
The adversary and enemy is who?
This wicked Haman.
The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Now he's sitting right there at the feast. He probably did this shit here. He probably did that right there. Yeah, I mean, set him up nice and good. I buy. He's sitting there. I know he was going through it. I wish I could have been there to see it. Well, keep going. I buy. It's a lot.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Oh, he was scared then. You heard what the king said. He said, Esther, who plotting on you and your people, man? Who is he? Where he at? Keep going.
Verse 7. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden.
Oh man, he arose from he was upset. Oh man, he rose up from the palace garden. He was angry. Oh boy. He said, I got something for you. Keep going.
And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther.
Oh man, now he crying to Esther. Now he want to cry, you know what I mean, and plead for his own life when he did not regard our lives. And it goes to show you just how much of a coward the oppressor is, man. I brought up earlier that devil that went up to that top supermarket in Buffalo, New York, who had no regard for our elderly among blacks and Latinos and murdered them in cold blood. Now, when he got sentenced, he was in church crying, you know what I mean, sorrow-eyed, man, talking about, I'm so sorry, tears running down his face. Now you want to apologize, man. Now you want to cry. I got something for you. Nakar, give me Hebrews 12 and 16. We're going to come back to this real quick. Because now you seeking forgiveness. There is no forgiveness for the oppressor. There is no forgiveness for Esau. And I'm going to show it to you. The crying that Haman's doing right now before Esther, it's the same crying that the oppressor is going to do when Christ returns. I pray you understand. They're going to want mercy. Mercy don't live over here. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for the violence, as it says in Obadiah 1:9, for our brother against our brother Jacob, man. Because of the violence you did against us, man. The violence that you continue to do against us. You stole this land from the North American and Seminole Indian, the First Nation. You lock our Hispanic brothers and sisters, man, up in cages, and you persecute Negroes every day here and in the West Indian Islands in Haiti, man, and in Dominican Republic, in Puerto Rico, and Cuba. You can't cry forgiveness now. No, you can't ask for it now. It's too late for that. We are well past apologies, well past it, and so is our God. Now let me give you a precept in the so-called New Testament for you Christians out there, that there is no forgiveness for the oppressor, who is Esau. Hebrews 12:16.
The book of Hebrews chapter 12 verse 16.
Yeah, keep going. Lest there be
any fornicator or profane person as Esau.
Lest there be any profane person such as Esau. Who is more vile? Who is more disgusting than Esau? Nobody. Nobody is more vile. Nobody is more disgusting than the oppressor. Nobody's more profane. Keep going.
Who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright.
He sold his birthright for one morsel of meat. And you got to understand Jacob, man, Yasha'Allah. We was playing with Esau. We like, man, sell me your birthright. You know what I mean? Esau was so power hungry. Esau was so relentless. You know what I mean? He really wanted to eat that bloody stew. And guess what? He sold his birthright, which is to die for. Our birthright, you know what I mean, that we have right now, being Israelites, is to die for. The being the Lord's anointed, being the Lord's chosen, that was given the oracles, man, that's to die for. Black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. And it ain't no compromising with that. There's no compromising. Like I brought up earlier, man, Mattathias didn't compromise, Mordecai didn't compromise, Esther didn't compromise, Daniel didn't compromise, and guess what? Commander General Yohana didn't compromise neither. You ain't supposed to. You got to stand on this truth. I pray you understand. Keep going.
For one morsel of meat sold his birthright.
Keep going.
For you know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance.
He found no place of what?
Repentance.
He found no place of repentance, meaning the oppressor cannot repent. He can't repent for the evil that he did to our people. He can't repent for what he did to the Mexicans, the Guatemalans, the Panamanians, the Seminole Indians, and North American Indians. He can't repent what he did to us, black man, Latino man, and woman. Keep going.
For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears.
Though he cried, man, cried. That's another thing I wish I could have solved, Murad. If the Lord could just let me see one thing, man, we get in the kingdom. I want to see Esau's face when he tried to steal the birthright and blessing back, and him crying. I just want to see that. Like I just get that and just put that. I want that on the walls everywhere in the kingdom. Yeah, I mean, like you see that face right there. That is the definition of what we called in nigga terms Saudi. Salaki. Though he sought it carefully with tears, man. I don't care how much the oppressor cries. How much crying have we done? How much crying did the families of George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Philando Castillo, you know what I mean, and Vanessa Gillian, and every Mexican man, woman, and child locked up in cages right now? How much crying do we do on a daily basis? God don't want to hear that. And Esther ain't trying to hear it either. Go ahead, sir, please.
Good, right? Esau, he got that same spirit because he knew he sold it, but he still went to go get the birthright. And then he cried.
Right.
He couldn't get it.
Right.
And the oppressor and his daughters today, they'll set you up. They know that you ain't do nothing wrong, and they still cry on top of it just to get what they want.
Sir, and what you bringing out, sir, is so heavy. That's what we just read about here in Esther. All because Mordecai didn't bow, we all gotta die. I appreciate it, boy. The water all about it. Understand this. That's heavy. What Officer Marab, Sir 5,000 just brought out. though he tried to set us up, now you want to cry. Haman tried to set us up because Mordecai wouldn't bow to him, because Mordecai wanted to serve our God and not bow. And now we all got to die. Now the plot has been foiled, and now you about to die. Now you want to cry. That's the difference between us and the white man. We stand on this truth. They can't stand on the lies and rape and murder that they did. They fold. They fold. We can't fold when it comes to this truth. We can't compromise. Not even a little bit. We can't let go. We can't let go. That's why I brought up early in the beginning of the class, remember the days of old. We have to remember how things were. Now, water, tune the card for the precept. Let's go back to Esther, right, bud?
This is the book of Esther, 7 verse 8. Then the king returned out of the palace, garden, into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman, this is the book of Esther, 7 verse 7. And the king arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his wife to Esther, the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him.
Now evil was determined against him. Now he knows he's about to be punished. Now he knows that he's worthy of death for the plotting against our people. Keep going.
Verse 8. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed where Esther was.
Now he's crying on the bed, Officer Morale. He's falling on the bed, crying, pleading for his life. Keep going.
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
God damn, he said, now you about to force the queen also? There's no prevail to the wickedness of Haman, man. Keep going.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
They covered Haman's face. Meaning they covered Haman's face, put a bag over his head. Imagine you getting ready to come up in here, you know what I mean, and do something evil to us. You know what I mean? And you met by Kalatazar and Ibad. I pray you understand. They put a bag over your face. That's it. Very excited at Officer Morale. You might give up the ghost. Lock it. Keep going.
9. And Arbarnah, one of the chamberlain, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai.
Now, the gallows, right? The execution spot that he made for Mordecai, where they were trying to get rid of Mordecai and exterminate us, guess what? Read.
Who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman.
We read that again, I bud.
Okay. And Arbarnah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king.
You know how all that dry snitching Haman and them was doing in the beginning when we read it in the beginning of the chapter? Now we doing it, Tazalai. Like, you know, those sitting back, like, you know, those gallows that Haman made for Mordecai and for us. Don't you think it'd be good if him and his people, you know what I mean, if it was used? It's so good. He already built it. It can't go to waste. It can't go to waste. Let's not use it. It's already here. Keep going.
Standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
Said, hang him thereon. Good night. Salakia. Goes to show you, man. Goes to show you. Like I brought out earlier, man, our God sees all that. And Haman was punished for trying to get rid of our people, man. And more importantly, Esther followed the orders that she was given from Mordecai, man. She was an excellent daughter and an excellent sister. Let's keep reading.
Verse 10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai.
On them gallows that he prepared for Mordecai, guess what? They hanged him. Now he's hanging from there. Keep going.
Then was the king's wrath pacified.
And that's another thing I would like to see. Like, just imagine that. You know, as especially, you know what I mean, be it so-called, like the tribe of Judah understand this. You know, that song that Sister made in the car, Strange Fruit, or how we hung from trees. That has to be an amazing sight to see the oppressor hanging from a tree or hanging from the gallows. and us sitting around. Like, you see the pictures and what they do on how they would turn it into a party where they would hang one of us and they all be around, have a bonfire, chop us up and sell, you know what I mean, our parts. They did that to Nat Turner, man. They hung Nat Turner and ate him. God damn, that's how evil the oppressor is. And for how evil this bastard was, Haman, the Lord had this happen to him, had him be hanged on them same gallows that he had for Mordecai. Let's keep going, Ibad.
This is the book of Esther, 8 and verse 1. On that day, did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther, the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. Verse 2. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai.
And that ring that Haman had being number 2, now he took that off of him, took that off his dead body and said, no, not for you. Gave it to Mordecai. Now Mordecai is in that role, man. And let me tell you something else that's heavy about that too, that I want to speak on, because I spoke about it with Daniel, where when we were in captivity, you had brothers that were high up in this kingdom. And that's why when I brought up how evil men like Charles Barkley and Shaq is, how evil Steve Harvey and all of these entertainers that have influence, these pastors, that Daniel, that Mordecai sat in these positions of high rank and authority. When Joseph was in Egypt under Pharaoh, they never compromised their integrity. They never compromised our God in this truth, where everybody else in the world, they fold when they see that money and that gold. They fold. We're supposed to treat that like how we treat our elevator plantations, our 9-to-5s. Treat it like that. But more importantly, don't compromise this truth. Don't get taken off this square. Don't let the oppressor, you know what I mean, knock you off. Go ahead, Nakar.
And because they stay solid, they enemies will be at peace with them, like the scripture said.
Absolutely, man.
That's why that's the able to finesse. Everybody's able to finesse their way. You know what I mean? Into a good position in our enemy's kingdom.
Listen, man, get in the car handle. When the car is saying, that's exactly what happened. Haman thought he was going to finesse us. Oh, no. He learned something that every Agagite, that every Amalekite, that every so-called child of Esau understands from the beginning, which I brought up. When you try to finesse us, you're really playing yourself. You're playing yourself. We're going to finesse you. That's what happens. Now, if I could, Ibad, for time's sake, drop down, go to Esther chapter 9 and verse 30. No, verse 29. Verse 29. Now, because of this, right? Now we have, read verse 28. Go to Esther chapter 9 and verse 28, for time's sake.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 28. And that these days should be remembered.
These days should be remembered. You know what I mean? The Feast of the Dedication, Hanukkah and Purim. They're not high holy days, but these are days that we have to remember. These are days that we have to remember, man, and realize, man, that our enemies plotted on us. And because we did what our God said to do, we prevailed. Let's remember these days, man. And remember that we have a power. You know what I mean? No matter how strong our enemies may seem, they're not better than our God. That's why the precept, man, what I love is in Isaiah 47 and verse 3, where the Lord said he will not meet you as a man. The Lord can send a plague down and shut down your whole economy, the COVID-19, the coronavirus, the monkeypox. And that's what we're doing that here in ISUPK under Commander General Yohana. The plagues ain't stopping. The Lord is going to send more, man, because we're doing what our God said to do. Now, all of Israel, every Black, Latino, and First Nation man and woman, we all got to get on board when it comes to this. Keep going.
And kept throughout every generation.
It's supposed to be kept throughout every generation, meaning every generation of us should remember Purim. Remember what Mordecai and remember what Esther did. Keep going.
Every family.
Every family. Keep going.
Every province and every city. And that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of the perished from their seed.
Listen, man, we're supposed to remember this. This should be kept. And we should remember what happened, man. How God raised up a powerful priest and prophet in Mordecai and raising up a powerful righteous sister that obeyed her father. That's important. Keep going.
Verse 29. That Esther, the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai, the Jew, wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. Verse 30. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus with words of peace and truth.
Meaning wherever we were, wherever blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, Jews, the real Israelites of antiquity of old, wherever we were, to have these letters sent out for us to remember Purim and what happened here. Keep going.
Verse 31. To confirm these days of Purim and their times appointed, according to Mordecai, the Jew, and Esther, the queen, had enjoined them, and as they had decreed for themselves and for their seed, the matters of the fastings and their cry.
Because they fasted and because of their cry, that's why I had you pull in 2 Chronicles 7 and verse 14, where it says, my people, you know what I mean, here, you know what I mean, to turn from their wicked ways. If we turn from our wicked ways, man, and humble ourselves, our God will get, you know what I mean, will destroy our enemies, man. Our God will be there, but we have to first come back to him. We got to come back in this truth. Keep reading.
Verse 32. And the decree of Esther confirmed these matters of Purim, and it was written in the book.
And it was written in the book. And that's why we remember Purim now. That's why we observe Purim now, and why we're gathered all across the earth where blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians are, man, here in the ISUPK under command of General Yohana, and remember what goes on in Purim, man. To remember how the Lord raised up Mordecai and Mordecai raised up Esther. And to remember that we have enemies, that our enemies are plotting on us every day. And because we know that our enemies are plotting against us, man, there's moreover the point on why we have to come back and do what our God says to do. You can't continue to live the way that you live it. Christ did not die so you can continue to think that we can be joined onto this oppressor with all the homosexuality and alternative lifestyle, all the murder, all of the evil and corruption. We got to come back in here and become that new man and that new woman. And with that being said, I'm preaching officer 1000 Yada. I want to say the water to everyone that came through. With that being said, I want to pass the class to the priest and captain of 13,000, Akab Abaran.
Wait for a second. Bob, what's going on now? Good? No sweat. I'm gonna just do the announcement to see you eat, everything like that, all right? Start out of 1 West on the 25th Street, out in New York, with new brother and sister. New brother and sister comes to the school. You gotta turn that off. Yeah, you ain't gotta turn it off. Right? Y'all live in 6 months that we only they share themselves in the world. They need transportation, teach you to pray. After 6 months, the brother or sister has interest in a particular person.